I'm Christine Persichetti with this current news update. A reality check from the new administration in Albany. Governor Kathy Hochul now says her predecessor undercounted COVID deaths by nearly 12,000. But one family who's been outspoken about their father's COVID death isn't counting it as a victory. Current News' Jessica Easthope spoke with them in Cobble Hill.
Daddy used to go all over the place.
When Peter and Daniel Arbini want to see their dad, Norman, they look at this wall.
And this smile that has been around the world.
The Amity Street home where he spent 89 years is now a tribute to his life and legacy.
He was a typical old school Brooklyn boy. It was about the community. It was about sitting on the stoop and being part of something bigger than yourself.
And we've got 400 pictures.
But it's the wall on the other side of the apartment that represents Peter and Daniel's fight for justice. Like all these people, Norman died of COVID-19. He contracted it while in a nursing home, but died at home, which means for more than a year, the state never counted his death.
We have FOIL requests in.
When Governor Kathy Hochul took office, she acknowledged the 12,000 COVID deaths former Governor Cuomo's administration never reported. But to the Arbinis, they're still wondering where Norman fits in.
There's no way to look up if their family member is in that 12,000. So my family is not going to stop until my father counts in that 12,000 and also counts as part of the nursing home fatalities.
The Arbinis want an apology and for information and documents that show the circumstances surrounding Norman's death. They're also waiting for Governor Hochul to conduct a full investigation.
Really digging into this and having the political will to care more about all of us than the fallout.
A statement from Governor Hochul's office says, quote, Governor Hochul is deeply committed to transparency and restoring trust in government. We will always prioritize open communication with New Yorkers as we work together to battle the pandemic.
I love this picture.
The Arbinis' lives have taken on a new purpose. They're willing to fight tirelessly for justice and for answers. In Cobble Hill, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
The climate remains a big topic at the UN General Assembly. In his annual address, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said it's time for humanity to grow up, adding that he and his fellow world leaders have an awesome power to change things for the better and save ourselves. His comments coming ahead of a global climate conference in Scotland next month. The Catholic Church has had a long history of diplomatic relations with the United Nations. New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan highlights some of that history in a video he posted on Twitter.
The Holy See, the Pope, has had intense interest since 1945 when the United Nations began. And in 1965, there were formal cooperation between the Holy See, the Vatican, and the United Nations. In fact, Pope St. Paul VI visited here on the Feast of St. Francis of Assisi 1965 and spoke to the United Nations. That's where he gave his famous speech, "War no more, never again war."
The past three popes, St. John Paul II, Pope Benedict, and Pope Francis, have all visited the United Nations and delivered speeches. The Holy See also has an official representative to the UN. Catholic Charities is providing some much-needed help for families affected by the remnants of Hurricane Ida here in the Diocese of Brooklyn after the charity received a generous donation of 40 mattresses.
For many of our families, there was a lot of flooding, and so all of their mattresses, all of their bedding, all of their bed sheets have been destroyed, and they're expensive, and to replace that is very difficult.
The delivery comes from Univision New York Contigo and Mattress Firm. The mattresses, which cost about $250 a piece, will help 15 families. 120 mattresses were also delivered to the Catholic Charities facility in Cranford, New Jersey. Dozens of people are still struggling in the aftermath of that storm. The Bishop of Brooklyn, Nicholas DiMarzio, is calling on the faithful to help. You can make your checks payable to the Compostela Fund of the Archdiocese of Brooklyn. Make sure to write Hurricane Ida 2021 on your check and send it to 310 Prospect Park West, Brooklyn 11215. Or you can donate online at cfbq.org/Ida and click on Donate Now. A plea from 164 Catholic organizations to President Biden amid the humanitarian crisis on our Texas border. Ahead of the World Day for Migrants and Refugees this Sunday, they're demanding Biden end what they say is the misuse of Title 42. It allows the removal of foreigners from a country where a contagious disease is present. President Trump enacted Title 42, citing COVID. The new administration has continued it. Meanwhile, the U.S. Special Envoy to Haiti has resigned. Daniel Foote telling Secretary of State Tony Blinken that he will, quote, not be associated with the United States' inhumane, counterproductive decision to deport thousands of Haitian refugees. More than 1,000 migrants who gathered near Del Rio, Texas, have been deported so far. However, the White House notes that thousands of others are being allowed into the U.S. with instructions to report to immigration. In response to all this, U.S. bishops are urging the White House to welcome all of God's children, writing, "We call on the U.S. government to reassess its treatment of migrants in Del Rio and elsewhere along the U.S.-Mexico border, especially Haitians who face life-threatening conditions if returned to Haiti and possible discrimination if expelled to third countries." Retired Bishop Anthony PILLA, who led the Diocese of Cleveland for 25 years and served as the president of the USCCB, died Tuesday at the age of 88. Friends and colleagues recalled Bishop PILLA as a humble man whose love for the church guided his desire to build bridges with everyone in his diocese. A funeral mass will be celebrated September 28th at the Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist in Cleveland. A pro-life bill similar to one signed into law in Texas was filed in Florida Wednesday. The Florida Heartbeat Act would ban most abortions in the state and would allow lawsuits against doctors who violate it. However, it does provide exceptions for cases of rape, human trafficking, or for a condition that threatens a mother's life. Anyone seeking an abortion due to those exceptions requires documentation. Over on Capitol Hill, Democratic lawmakers are working to pass the Women's Health Protection Act, which aims to codify Roe v. Wade. Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone of San Francisco is calling on Catholics to pray and fast for the defeat of the bill, writing in part, "A child is not an object to be thrown away, and neither is a mother's heart. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The answer to a woman in a crisis pregnancy is not violence, but love. This is America. We can do better." The Biden administration got the go-ahead it was waiting for. The FDA has officially authorized booster shots of Pfizer's COVID vaccine for Americans 65 and over and those with high risk of serious illness. CDC scientists were hammering out the final details Thursday before giving the final go-ahead. Among the points of debate, exactly what qualifies as a serious illness. That is this Currents News Update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news.